So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things I've been thinking about, and I start thinking about things. I pull up a bunch of different things, and I got them all pulled up, and I thought I would just talk a little bit about it because I think it's one of the things that, strangely, not a whole lot of conversation goes on about. I mean, there are kind of buzzwords put out, and there's lots of different thoughts about, the attacks that go on. So, this is very directed in being realistic about the issues between the right and the left on these issues around transgender surgeries and specifically around puberty blocking. That many in the right wing are taking the position that, after 18, we don't care. Oh, you're 18, you're an adult. Somehow, magically, that number has been determined. That's when you can decide that you can then have a surgery. Kind of ignoring the fact that most of the time before then it is a prepping. And so one of the major aspects of prepping is, the drugs that are used. So puberty blockers coming from the company AbbVie. AbbVie, I'm going to talk a little bit about here and some of the different things I see going on. So you can see right away of where their head's at. And but it's a little bit deceptive around what's actually going on. So, I pulled up a bunch of different things about AbbVie. And AbbVie makes Lupron, which is one of the main puberty blockers that are used for teenagers. It was originally, it has a number of different uses, and it is not FDA approved for use of puberty blockers. There have been one report that was very buried and barely talked about. And of course, this is one of the things is that, these issues, they get covered by the right wing, and then because the right wing covers it, then the left isn't going to cover it at all. We've got this little game, and it goes back and forth. Same thing. The left covers something, and then, the right isn't going to cover it. So, I'm going to try to be honest about both sides on this and ask some questions. And maybe some of these people that are on the right that are, sensibly understanding the issues around why surgeries for kids that are having issues during their teenage years is really ridiculous. But realizing, questioning, well, what's influencing this? So, we know, and, it was managed to just, it was like, oh, this is a terrible thing. And then it became the opioid crisis around, why, the conversation becomes, well, we had all different issues, and because this was the white Appalachian drug issue, that's why, there's so much care about it, and that means then we shouldn't care about it. And that's really not the case. I mean, opioids were put, there was a directed effort, and one that was obvious to anybody that lived there and anybody that was putting up with it through all those years. And that AbbVie is one of these interesting little, stories here because of Big Pharma that, they have all these different company names. They buy different companies or other companies buy into them, and they, manage to distribute themselves. And, these names get obscure, and we don't, they sometimes, many times these companies do have, offering medications that are absolutely life-saving and helpful and, quality of life. And then, sometimes they're not. And they have to go through testing to be able to figure that out. And of course, this was, one of the main issues I think that people on the right wing had about, any concern of the vaccine. And, I had this concerns of when Donald Trump was asking them. So I can understand that. I think let's just take COVID off the table of talking about this. And I know that's really hard to do. I think it was in a real extreme situation in all different ways, whole different debate. But this we know that we had, 20 some years of seeing how these companies used drugs that were used for pain that many people had legitimate reasons to have for pain and were able to use and when it was managed properly with the understanding that, this person needs this. It was given to people who didn't need it, and it didn't, wasn't monitored, and it was absolutely pushed without any care. We know, we have all the evidence about it, of, the extremes of OxyContin, which I know many people who died, people who lost their lives, people lost their livelihoods over that drug. And this is around a prescription that I know many people take and have, no problem with. However, Many people do. And there's no way to know of who is going to be having a problem with it necessarily and who isn't. And, so this issue for me really hits home on the issues about opioids. But then to understand that this company was given, had numerous settlements to pay, all kinds of different fines here. So this is from just of this summer. And all over, I'm going to try to pull up articles that are, somewhat neutral and not, skewed entirely to the right or the left, so people aren't all up in arms. Because I think this is a really honest conversation to have. So they've over $2 billion in settlements. You can only imagine of what the heck was going on with all of that. And when you get into it more, there's all these other aspects. So AbbVie has bought, or this other company bought. No, AbbVie bought into buying up this Allergan company of all kinds of different issues around their, shady dealings, pushing drugs, having all kinds of different impacts onto, what was going on with these drugs during this time. And, that's the thing is that, like, so many people didn't pay attention to this for a number of different reasons. And I'm going to get into what some of the reasons could potentially be. And then why, like that, of is it the situation that now we've got kids, here's the stocks for AbbVie over the last couple of years. So the orange line, it's doing quite well. And, why that is literally like that in 2022, getting $2 billion in fines, and then they're, one of the best stocks in terms of pharmaceuticals. And, of having many different drugs that they absolutely, are helpful, life-saving, and, Lupron being one of them. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as well. So let's see. And this came to my attention as thinking about this of just, what are, looking back a little bit, just a little bit in a snapshot of time, what is the, this tweet came up from someone who I think is an interesting person. I many times do not agree with her, but I like her approach, and I think that she's sensible and logical. But however, she's from Washington State, which is just completely, captured in a lot of ways. And I feel like she understands. So it's funny. Okay, so I gotta admit, I was surprised to see Big Pharma sporting festive pride logo. Less surprised to see that AbbVie gave $131,000 to GOP senators who are actively blocking the Equality Act. And their arthritis treatment is $77,000 a year. So, this is the other part about it, is that, they'll create these drugs that are, life-changing, life-altering, life-saving, but it comes at this huge cost. Now, a lot of people can say, well, why is that? That's outrageous, and other countries don't do this. Well, interesting enough, years ago, I'd heard was stuck in traffic, listening to NPR back in the day when it was sensible to sit and listen to for an extended time, that they were talking about how, drug companies in the United States specifically, of the amount of research that's done, and that, the research costs money. But the research is also done of, taking a drug, they find a drug that is useful for something, let's research to see if it works for something else. And, that takes, obviously, equity and, building it up and having a kind of grounding on what you're going to be doing. And that just didn't seem to happen when we were talking about gender dysphoria. We know that it was used for men with prostate cancer. And, some of the side effects, so this is from the UK, they're pretty common sense, okay? It's dealing with your hormone issues, so for men, of all different changes in, so their appearance, their skin, their hair growth, hair growth and hair loss, weight gain, weight loss, their mood swings, libido changes, memory and concentration, their confidence, all different things that are around being manly, being masculine, and seeing as this ideal of the end of what's supposed to be the spectrum of male. Then penis size and function, getting erections, having orgasms. Now, this is one of the interesting things then of blocking that for kids. So apparently, in the sick world of sex organ plastic surgery, that if you don't have enough of the basic biological, growth and development, that it makes it more difficult for them to do the surgery, and then needing to, like that of seeing these images of arms cut off, the skin cut off the arms, and they take skin from the colon. I mean, it's really, really sick. Like, whoever it is that's thinking this up, and where was that researched and tested? Where was the time and the money, and where's the data for any of it? Because there isn't any. And this should be really concerning and a topic of discussion. That we have all these other things, and some of them are absolutely realistic things, but they just become too socially charged. This is science and basic aspects about medication and about healthcare and how it has always worked. And take out the gender issues around this, and just thinking about how medications are then given, and what testing has gone into this. When your doctor is telling you something, and we saw it with the doctors giving out opioids. They were totally strong-armed and bullied, and many times addicted to the drugs as well. So when you have a bunch of transgender doctors and therapists and counselors and teachers and all different people, it's a little bit like, if Scientologists were trying to put Dianetics into the curriculum of the school. All right, so let's go into it then again. You're wow, kind of strange. Your bone and your muscle strength is lessened. Your muscle strength, muscle tone, bone strength, bone density, that is, part of your development. It's all that time of your life is... your teenage years is a time that none of us will forget. Every one of those years of, whatever it is when you go into puberty. And for girls, it's very extreme. You have real extreme things that happen overnight. And it's pretty jarring. And for males, boys, being masculine is pumped up so much in the culture, but a lot of it has to do with your levels of testosterone in your body. So, this I find to be really interesting also, so prostate cancer, it was also, of course, used for women, for endometriosis, which is an, extreme, deadly, awful disease for women to deal with, of women's health. An area where if you're not going to say the word woman, you're going to have a lot of time then discussing what this problem is. Or if someone who's a trans man has this issue, then, they are a woman. Okay? It's not a matter of their trans man that's having this issue. No, it's a female sex organ that's having the problem. So, talking about more about pharmaceuticals. So, pharma donations, and this is one of the things. So money talks, money walks. We're going to talk about the stock market we showed there, and what are the influences? And we know within the lobbying and all of the different influences and investment going on, and shady deals, and this one related to that one, and their family and investments. I mean, we know this, and this goes on both sides. I mean, it's ridiculous of the whole thing of going on and on and acting like, just be of anybody on the left that does this, and act as though that the people on the right aren't doing it either. And a lot of times it's pretty shady, but the left doesn't get into it because they're too wrapped up in promoting all this other stuff, of course. So, Pharma is giving tons of money, of course. So this is from a couple years ago. But still, here's your donors, all right? And, the CEOs of AbbVie, of giving, who are they all? It's all Republican. So, Mitch McConnell's, ridiculous amount of money compared to, and like that of other, you could go through, I'm sure this list is, if you went down, and I'm sure there'd be Democrats that are in there as well, so that's kind of interesting. Yep, because we have all these different aspects of, drug companies and investments, and that they change the names, and they're all over the place, that, it makes it somewhat difficult to be able to grasp what's going on. So, this is an interesting article from Bloomberg. So AbbVie, and whatever, this conglomeration with Allergan that profits to moves the profits to U.S. and partial GOP tax law win. So Allergan would owe U.S. tax but remains an Irish company. So this is one of the things. AbbVie moved. Unfortunately, we can't read the article, but AbbVie moved to Ireland to avoid taxes in 2015, and then the GOP made a whole little tax scam so that they could partially move that company. And see, this is one of the things. They change these names and they get into all these like shady dealings and stuff. So for the GOP to go on constantly, and everybody within Republicans of this is because they don't have anything else to go against. They just lost then of the issue around gay marriage. They clearly see that Roe and anything around women's issues and abortion is really not popular. Gun issue, there's plenty of people who see, okay, something's got to be done. This is really out of control. There's too many people that are out running around shooting the whole place up. A lot of their central polls for the GOP are kind of falling to the wayside, and or at least not able to be pillared up against each other as much. And so they're obviously going to use the next 2 years and going on and on about investigations, which nobody cares about. No, everybody's sick and tired of. They're just ridiculous gotcha of an absolutely gotcha that goes nowhere. And they're gonna push on this issue, and they obviously have a right to do it, and a legitimate claim to be able to address these issues around kids, transgender, queer, non-binary, all these different, trends that have been pushed onto kids. I really wish they would go after TikTok more, but, that will be an interesting debate. So, going into, that there's these drug companies, there's another one that I didn't even know anything about. It was kind of interesting then of reading it, then getting into. So, there's the issue then of Texas of an off-label. So that's the issue of off-label, meaning that it's not approved by the FDA. It's got uses for other things, and the main thing that one of the amazing things then of realizing of what Lupron was able to do was of kids that are having early puberty. And I mean, it's one of the disturbing things that trending goes, I wish I pulled it up, but I don't want to take time to do it, that, trending has been that girls especially have been going into puberty and are getting their periods much earlier. And, what are the different influences of that? And one thoughts of like hormones in foods, milk, or, just the diet, heavier in fats, and all different kinds of reasons why just over the last, 30, 40 years of why girls have been going into puberty earlier. And so there's health implications of that. One of them being just their growth. They'll remain very, very small. Their bone density will be, they have potential to have really, really difficult lives and maybe live shorter lives because of their not having puberty at the proper time. Well, that's interesting. And then somewhere, somebody thought of, well, hey, let's take that and use it for this other thing that all these teenagers are all of a sudden talking about. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, Texas investigation of off-label, and this is the whole thing then around Governor Abbott and Attorney General Paxson amid ongoing try to fight about transgender care. So, Thursday, what was the date on this? Okay, this is in the beginning of the year, March. Produce a range of documents, communication, and other information related to the marketing and promotion of hormone blockers in Texas. And this is the thing. I mean, like, it's no surprise that they're not out there doing this weird thing. So I look up this Endo Pharmaceuticals I'd not heard of before. Wow, that they have opioid litigations going on. So, our kids And, these families. So who's, they need to pay for this somehow, right? So it's either going to be parents giving up their college funds or, any other things that would better them in their lives to go and pay for these drugs. And then once you take the drugs, it's a slippery slope down to getting the surgery. So these people, Proud Boys and anybody, Billboard Chris and everybody out saying, 18 plus, I don't care. No, they're being set into, and then they could have this, this whole bitter attitude of, wow, all those people, they made me wait, and look how miserable I am, and I'm going to threaten to kill myself and the whole time until they become 18, and then, whatever. The sky's the limit on your surgery because you've mentally built up for it for all that time. And, maybe, hopefully, there's somewhere in there that some sense gets into them by the time they get to be 18, but, once you've, kind of put yourself out there, you've given, that little bit, it's like, well, okay, if I just do that little bit more, and they keep feeding them these lines, so, and of course they get the scripts. So this is some different things put together from Reddit. You find out what they want to hear if they're going to give you tea, and then tell them just that. It's about getting treatment, not about being true to those around you. It's not their business, and a lot of time doctors will screw stuff up for you. Get a story in your head, and as suggested, keep the lie to a minimum, and only for stuff that can't be verified. Like, how were you feeling? But was too afraid to tell anyone, including your family? I'd also look up the DSM for the diagnostic criteria for transgender and make sure your story fits it, assuming your psych follows it. If you don't do it when you're young, you'll be miserable, unhappy, and you're with your body for the rest of your life. Well, one of the things, like I just said, if you don't go through the puberty and develop the sex organs, then you potentially have a lot more health problems than when you go and have the surgery that you've already put yourself on the slippery slope for. Signs to indirect gender dysphoria: continual difficulty with simply getting through the day, a sense of misalignment, disconnect, or estrangement from your own emotions. A feeling of just going through the motions in every day, as if you're always reading from a script. The script we're reading here. A seeming pointlessness to your life and no sense of any real meaning or ultimate purpose, knowing you're somehow different from everyone else, and wishing that you could be normal like them. Okay, that paragraph right there is like, take any 1980s teen, what was it? What were they called? Like the Breakfast Club and all that. The Brat Pack. That was the script of every one of those stories. That's the whole thing about being a teenager. We all understood what it was. Now it's being made into some thing that's, it's the worst tragedy in the world. And, maybe it's because like that, at least then, part of the Breakfast Club was the music, the being different, looking to find your way of being yourself and being comfortable in that, and not having to all be like a gang together, and everybody integrating by the end of the Breakfast Club, integrating together that, yeah, our differences make us kind of cool and can interact together, and that, that there's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong with these people? So the interesting thing about this is it's coming from, these were taken, and you can see the links here. It's not, making anything up. These are all out there. And this is all coming from the study that's been, the one study that ironically was done right at the time that I started to notice that these things were going on as an educator. And this is done in 2014. And there's been all kinds of, ways and going out of their way to tear this study down, just because it's coming from parents, as if parents don't have any clue and they're all evil, or they're, out to get their kids. No, they care about their kids, and they went and said, hey, something's up. and this person is saying, this researcher Lisa Littman, who's been torn to pieces all over, of what was going on, what are the different aspects of this. And this is 2014, so a lot has happened since then. And I don't think that it's a matter of that you take every bit of research for that's it. But the point is you need to have more research, and they didn't do that. They tore this research apart, and there's not been anything like this since then. And there's not going to be, because it's so politically charged now on each side by doing it, and it's really ridiculous. When we talk about and why it's ridiculous, anybody of knowing then of half the population of really being a female, I think you're a little more in tune to your hormones than you are as a male, because your body goes through a lot of changes and can continue to change over that time, and depletion of estrogen, while male testosterone levels stay pretty much the same throughout late into their lives. And all of these symptoms here with this put together, there's a bunch of different things. I was going to look. They're hard to read, so I pulled up this chart that seems pretty on point of a tweet. And a list of stuff going on here. And how would a young person really be in tune to knowing what these things are? And we know ourselves from the side effects of things that many times they're complicated by other issues as well. If you have a situation where someone has an eating disorder, they're obviously not getting enough nutrition. They're obviously then going to be anemic. They're going to have different aspects of problems with digestion. The same thing. Then you've got this drug that's doing the same thing on top of it. No one's talking about this. I don't understand why anybody wouldn't have concern and have discussion about this, and not have to have it be this crazy, charged screaming match. And, maybe it's a matter of that, adults need to have a conversation without the kids in the room, because the kids have just been, their brains have been put through this, TikTok, Tumblr, Reddit shredder, and Discord. It's ridiculous. And so much like that, AbbVie sticks with transgender positive, gender cool. State Farm pulls away. I've never even heard of this. It just happened to come up, and looking up AbbVie and some different things about AbbVie and Lupron and transgender. North Chicago biopharmaceutical company, well, actually, Ireland, most of the companies in, avoiding taxes. Supported Gender Cool is a LGBTQ positive group that, among other actions, supports transgender students. So I'm sorry my reading is weird because there's a light shining in my eyes, so that's why I'm reading a little funky. That being allowed to play youth and high school sports. So they're pushing for the sports issue. Aside from that, there's no conversation about the health implications of what their product is doing, and how it's just absolutely destroying discourse, making it discord in this country and across the world. That this impacts all over, and it's Trans Awareness Week. I mean, we're aware of trans. We're plenty aware of it. We're made aware of it constantly. Enough to the point that we can't do our jobs. We can't function with our friends. We can't be in our communities unless we just zip our mouths and fly the flag, and that's the only way that you're able to function. Well, how is that any different than, MAGA, if we're all supposed to bow to the gold idol of Donald Trump? There's no difference in any of that. Drug costs 8 times more when used for kids. So this is then what impacts on it. This is the same kind of thing. So Planned Parenthood now is, forget around actually of dealing with issues around abortions and birth control and women's health. No, a bunch of it is all about giving this gender affirming care. So, women's health gets pushed off to the side, isn't so much of a concern. Makes it be easily attacked then because of doing this other thing, just like gay rights are being attacked because of the queering and transing. So why is this hormone blocker costing more? And well, because we have a lot more of it being prescribed. So then when you have girls like this who this is then, one of these things is like, okay, they found out that this drug that was given to prostate cancer patients, that was, also I didn't mention, was also given to pedophiles for chemical castration. It sounds extreme, but it was done. It absolutely, one of these other little quirky things about this drug, endometriosis, and then, one of the really serious issues around early puberty. So this, 8-year-old girl who was adopted and, can't get, went into puberty early and, is not developing properly, that, so she needs this drug, and it costs 8 times more. Because now there's such a demand from all of these kids that are running around with, what was the, I'm sorry, what was it? They're running around with all of these, these thoughts in their head to go and say to their therapist, or that their therapists tell them to say, or their counselors at school helping them along. I've seen it, okay? So, this isn't a conversation that is just made up out of the air. This is not, a QAnon. This is not around anything other than of being realistic about things. Do I care about kids that are saying they're trans? I absolutely do. And that's why I think for a lot of them, they're just caught up in this, the continual difficulty of getting through the day. Well, you know what? The last 3 years have been a nightmare. The last 7 years have been torturous. There's half of their lives that they've known. So no wonder that it's difficult to get through the day with so much division and craziness all over the place. A sense of misalignment or disconnect and estrangement from your own emotions. Well, yeah, if you're in a situation where anywhere you're at that you're disagreeing with whoever it is that's the castle around you, and that you're stuck in those walls, you're going to feel misaligned. And you know what? As a teenager, you're meant to feel misaligned because you're trying to find yourself. You are often rebelling from your parents at that time. It's always the eye rolling and, oh, please, mom, parents don't understand you. Well, yeah, they do. But you don't think that they do. The feeling of just going through the motions of every day. Well, welcome to the world. That's what we all do. That's, if you can't deal with that, and you think like every time that you have that's so terrible for you that you're gonna say, oh, I'm gonna kill yourself. You're a kid. That's why you're feeling that. You're not mature enough. And like that, I don't know what the age of being mature enough is. It's different for different people. I was very mature when I was 15 years old. I know 15-year-olds that are, absolutely like little children. And, as well as people that are, late teens and 20s that are just really, very childlike and don't want to grow up. And I understand it. I understand not wanting to grow up. But, not wanting to grow up is different than be interfering with the development of your body physically and not being in tune to what is happening developmentally in your brain and your psychology and your behaviors and how you're learning how to be able to work in the world. It's amazing of thinking back when you get older and of how many things change for you and how your life changes and how you see things differently, how you learn from the experiences. And a lot of people, they don't want to learn from the experiences. They just want to hold on to them and harbor them and hold them and make that be like their security blanket when all it's doing is weighing them down. And understanding that your life changes. And part of your changes are of your body and how it changes. And to just understand that and realize that it's not the end of the world. It doesn't have to be made the fixation and focus for everyone all the time. So, when we have a drug company that is, using opioid fines, or using Lupron to be able to pay for their opioid crisis that they participated in, and they go out clearly of being, the advertisers of things that, I've never even heard of. I don't know, I don't know what this is, I don't know, gender cool. What is that even about? I don't even want to know, okay? So, I have so many different thoughts about this, and I really just want to, make the point again that this is not, when you look at this, you got to ask yourself, why is it then that, they're taking all this money from these companies? Do they not have any, say about any of this? Of course they do. Do they know what's going on? Of course they do. And, it's a bit, beyond shady, really, for it to be that it's just going to be a bashing away at Democrats on this, which, again, it's not a matter that they don't deserve it, really? You're surprised? Why would you be surprised? It's part of their advertising campaign. It was the easiest campaign for everyone to do. Just slap a rainbow or, this color combo thing that they put together. And I find that one really interesting too, that the rainbow's on the bottom and then the additional colors put onto the top. Like that says it all, really. So, I'm going to end it here, and I really think that people should, if you are in a Republican state, maybe you should look into it of what's the PAC money, and you guys that are in the UK, of understanding that, these are where these issues are at. It's, one thing of going on to Fox News and telling them about what happened, at our women's rallies and about being attacked and all this ridiculousness that happened with Kara, which I think I actually have pulled up here. No, I don't have it here. But being attacked with her signs, this silent protest, and I'm going to play it just to end on here because it's just so absurd. My internet's going a little slow right now. Yeah, that would have been right there. Oh, well, yeah, and so they burned the sign. Man, my screen has got sun right on it. They burned the sign, and women. I'll play it to end out. I can find it. There it is. Oh, it's the article. Oh, and this is awful. So this is the last thing I'm going to say. So like that, who covers this thing that happened? This terrible attack? I don't know if the video is on here. I thought it was. But this, trans person that killed 3 people, a lesbian couple and their son, apparently in arson. Apparently it was a long-standing grievance over, so here's the video. I should have done another video on it, but while I flipped on it, what the heck, why not?
Says that she's put in a violent with other men because they're stronger.
We are not out here to engage right now with the public. We're doing a silent protest, but you can go to the website of this organization and you can read all about it, and we will dialogue with you. We're not going to do it today.
I did read about it briefly here.
Okay.
And I do have criminal justice.
We're open to it. We're just not doing that today.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do have that education. Oh, I have that. Whoa. What's this about? Why are we doing this? They're violent. They're violent men. They're violent men. This is male. Why are we doing this? Because they're violent men. These are violent men. They're violent men. And they just have fun.
Yeah, these are the men that we like to not have to be in prison with. So.
What the hell?
Who did you think they were?
Yeah, who did you think they do? Yeah, I don't know why you would think anything. I don't quite get the.
I don't get that. Why did they took your sign?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Oh my God! Freedom of expression. Who are these people?
Who are these people? They're everywhere.
I didn't even plan on being here.
Thank you for being here.
Holy
Hey, buddy.
crap.
Hey, buddy.
What we're up against.
And this has happened in Portland, in Tacoma, in
Why can't we have a
Chicago,
dialogue?
in New York.
Why can't we have a dialogue? Sorry.
Why can't we have a dialogue? I actually think that's a good way to end it. Why can't we have a dialogue? Why can't we? Because what ends up happening? Oh God, it's so funny. Epic Times, go away. Continue reading for free. Well, at any rate, they put the article on the Epic Times, which is, this Falun Gong weird Chinese cults. It's all kinds of questionable things that go on. You know, it's like the drug company. They do some good things, but then they also do these really shady things. And they try to just ignore all the shady things by putting out, you know, all this color and marketing around trying to get you to not pay attention to it. It's the same thing, but in a different cult. And, you know, so they're covering it. You know, no one on the left will even pay attention to it because then, well, not, you know, because, but one of the contributing factors is that then of having the Epic Times put anything up, then, you know, unfortunately, it hurts the message. So that, you know, just I think people should question AbbVie more. They should, you know, really look into what is the PAC money, streaming situation, and the stock market, because money talks, and that's clear.